Elliot's doing living in England, but that's his business.
Not only do I live in England, but my address is Churchill Close, Stratford.
Well, it's good to see you causing trouble here again.
The reason, let me make it absolutely clear, we left Scotland for one reason only, and that was at this stage in life to be nearer to our family, one of whom is one of my daughters.
There you are.
Lovely.
An issue for many Scots over the generations. But I think you put your finger on the big problem here, actually, Ken, which is about what the will of the people actually is. I mean, we came up against this at the time. You pointed out the Claim of Right being signed. We remember them all lining up, these Unionist politicians, to sign a document declaring the sovereignty of the people. And yet, a few years later, when it came to the question of a referendum on the Constitution, those same politicians, led by Jim Wallace, who was one of the leaders who signed that in the Assembly Hall, said that Scotland did not have the power to even consult the people who elected the parliamentarians on the Constitution. That, to me, was as straightforward a denial of the sovereignty of the people as you could possibly get. Even on a small technicality, he would not bend. And the problem with all of this, to me, is not as such the people, it's the politicians. You can write a constitution saying virtually anything, the politicians will corrupt it, because that seems to be almost their raison d'etre. And I don't know how we get out of that problem.
I think I could just say one sentence. Just say one sentence in response to that. You're absolutely right, of course. And the people in the Constitutional Convention, we had the whole of civic society present. It wasn't just the politicians. I said earlier that the politicians, I wonder if they understood what they were signing. I'm sure they didn't, fully, or they didn't believe it. But most of the other people who signed it from civic society, I believe, did understand it, did believe it. And it's on that basis I agree that we have to go forward.
Yeah, I just, on the subject of politicians, I think, in a sense, one of the opportunities for a new Scotland is that we can actually define what our politicians are and what is their role. Because it seems to me that politicians have moved from being the democratically elected representatives of the people, accountable to the people, into becoming either the government or the government in waiting. Their job is to govern us. It isn't any longer.
Their loyalty is to the party. Once they're elected with a mandate, they use that mandate in order to become servants of the party. But in effect, one or two people will dictate the policy they then take. In a way, some of it's almost like a denial of a proper democracy.
Which is partly my next point, because I think I think in a new Scotland we will move away more rapidly than elsewhere from the party political system that has, and I agree, failed us like that. Kenyon and others have said that it was David Cameron who denied us the opportunity of that second question in the referendum. And like him, my preference, and like in fact I think most of the people in Scotland, my preference would have been for that second question. And I think had it been there, the whole debate...
But that's why it was denied, because they knew that was the majority will of the people. They didn't want to deliver it.
But my party, the Labour Party, actually failed, and it's something of which I'm bitterly ashamed to push for that, because I think had they done so, we might have been in a... There was a meeting of the Scottish Executive of the Labour Party to discuss whether it should strive for that second question to be on the ballot. And actually most of the trade union representatives on that were in favour of that second question. They had already at meetings discussed this with their membership, clear what they wanted. But the machine bent arms, twisted things round, and they refused to ask that we demand the second question on the referendum.
Well, they failed to consult their own members, which would have been the most basic thing to do.
And it was entirely for party political reasons to stymie, not even just the SNP, but to stymie Alex Salmond, so that Alex Salmond would have no chance of claiming any victory at all. And it was utterly shameful, it was corrupt. Part of the consequence of that, in a sense, is where we are now, and I think one of the important things, again, about the participatory process that can be the development of a constitution in the event of a yes vote, is that there is a huge divide that needs to be healed. And to me, developing a constitution for the future is one sure way of actually getting people to start working together again, and not just in the political parties, but actually in the wider civic society. And it's